in numerous capacities. I strongly believe that for any meaningful, positive and measurable change to happen, things must be done differently. This is simply because you cannot get a different result when you are using exactly the same method. While I do concede that I am not perfect, in the process of reforms of the magnitude required to improve the service delivery in the education sector in this country, I also recognize that this process is definitely bound to generate resistance if tangible results are to be achieved. And such results must be measurable results. Ladies and gentlemen, my management style, which has proved successful over the years, is by walking about at the point of service delivery. I will qualify this position by citing a few examples. Number one, chronic absenteeism from the workplace. When I was sworn in as Cabinet Secretary of Education on 26th of March 2019, my first engagement at the Ministry of Education was to physically confirm whether ministry employees report to work at the time expected of them. I immediately realized that more than 60% of the offices at Magoha were empty and unattended at 11 in the morning. I then sought to rally the staff and firmly impressed upon them the importance of reporting to duty on time. To monitor attendance of staff to their duties, I spearheaded the installation of CCTV and biometric devices in all entry and exit points. Though it was initially resisted, but within a span of 6 months, cases of absenteeism had reduced to almost zero, and that all top managers now report to Magoha voluntarily at 6:30 a.m. in the morning, a situation which has remained the same to date and which has enabled us to be more efficient and to serve the people better. Number two, chronic absenteeism by field officers. Ladies and gentlemen, chronic absenteeism by field officers has persisted, even though significant improvements have improved tremendously. A small number of field officers limit their work to their offices with little or no effort to physically monitor the implementation of the education programs in the field. Of course, unless a senior ministry official from the headquarters is available. This is, however, negated by a substantive number of dedicated field officers whose impact in the field is laudable. During my numerous field visits, I've been able to identify competent officers, as exemplified by Mr. Uhuru Machocho, whom I promoted and deployed as a regional director, and has demonstrated excellent results in a short span of 1 month, during which period he has visited more than 200 schools to physically inspect and ensure that economic stimulus desks are fabricated as per the prototype specification and delivered promptly to schools. Ladies and gentlemen, for measurable impact to be made, all government employees must work for the pay that they earn monthly. In my many field visits, I have noted, regrettably, that absenteeism is the single leading cause of poor quality assurance and oversight by the ministry. On this concern, I wish to confirm that for as long as I remain at the helm of the ministry, I shall continue to ensure that all ministry employees deliver the services to the public as per their job descriptions. Number 3, field visits. I wish to begin, first of all, by thanking senior officers from the Ministry of Education headquarters and the very effective visits to the field, since they have strongly supported service delivery by this ministry. During my numerous visits, I have observed and made many public pronouncements. Many times I have continuously found our teachers in class teaching diligently and demonstrating that they are hardworking and committed in their teaching. And therefore, I have and hold the greatest respect for our teachers. However, there are few instances when our field officers do not provide the necessary support and superintendence required to these very dedicated teachers. The rights of learners, teachers, and parents and the wider public who are directly or indirectly affected by the education sector must be safeguarded by all public officers in the education sector by being hands-on and diligent. This is not negotiable. Number 4, misappropriation of public funds in the Ministry of Education. As public officers, we are duty-bound to ensure that Kenyans and their hard-earned taxpayers and revenues from the public kitty is prudently utilized. This can only be achieved if we embrace a hands-on management of these resources. This management approach has been instrumental in identifying lapses within the ministry where public funds have been misappropriated, and measures to ensure that effectively intervene have been deployed. In order to ensure that proper planning and record keeping is maintained, the CBC task force undertook an exercise to collect data from all learning institutions and the learners in each institution. This can now be verified and is fully documented. A key example, among others of significance, is the task force finding in the primary school sector, where our due diligence identified an inflation of numbers from 8.47 million learners to 9 million learners. The shortfall of Kenya shilling 529,997,000. No, let me take that again. The shortfall of 529,997 learners has led to the saving of Kenya shilling 752,594,740 annually. Number 5, the government economic stimulus package. They want the Kenya shilling 1.9 billion. The reason why I'm here this morning. The government of the Republic of Kenya, led by His Excellency Uhuru Kenyatta, allocated Kenya shillings 1.9 billion under the economic stimulus package for the supply of desks, which were originally meant to be 250,000, but now are 622 plus, in order to enhance the social distancing as a strategy of reducing COVID-19 transmission. I tasked one of our units within the ministry to develop and cost a prototype. When I did due diligence of establishing the market prices of the desks, I realized that the unit the ministry had done in the first instance was inflated by Kenya shilling 1,700 per desk, which means that only 250,000 desks would have been supplied. The ministry set the prices at 2,500 for the primary school desks, which you have just seen, and 3,800 for primary and secondary school desks, respectively. Due diligence was done under my direct supervision in Nyeri and the Jokali sheds within Nairobi metropolis. The government of the Republic of Kenya, therefore, will now be able to supply 622,157 locally assembled desks to 5,136 primary schools, 359,450 desks, and 5,243 public secondary schools, equating to 262,707 desks and lockers and chairs. Ladies and gentlemen, this program seeks to ensure that our local Jokali artisans, exemplified here by the lady who was a fabricator, she's sitting in the North Pole there, but because of I hope the cameras will be able to pick her. She's a Kenyan and she's doing what we want her to do. This program seeks to ensure that our local Jokali artisans and workshops at the sub-county level are supported to uplift thousands of livelihoods and support learners with desks that would mitigate the effects of social distancing in preventing the spread of COVID-19. The process of fabricating and delivering the desks took off in earnest, and when I demanded a report from sub-counties which had delivered desks, I was taken aback when I sought to verify the reports by sampling, by going to some of the stations in person. The first example is in Kakamega North sub-county, where the schools identified that had desks fabricated, delivered, and certified that there would be 5 schools. When I went to the ground, I only found desks in 2 schools. It's extremely important for the public to understand the genesis of the way we behave. When I went to a school where I had been told by my officers that desks had been delivered to 5 schools, on inspection I only found desks in 2 schools, and those desks were not manufactured according to specification, and therefore we decided to start verifying 100% inspection, which we are doing here. I only found 2 schools, and the desks delivered in those schools were of poor quality, not even varnished, and did not meet our specifications. The same was exemplified by Mumias East sub-county, and I've been told by my other officers who have been visiting that this has happened in several other sub-counties. I want to emphasize here that we shall continue to ensure that we give to our children and their parents what they deserve, and to insist that our officers in the field there must go and check. And I want to take this singular opportunity to thank the Ministry of Interior, led by my friend and brother Fred Okengo Matiangi, and all the regional commissioners, the county commissioners, the sub-county commissioners, up to the chiefs. They have been with us in this process, and that the fact that I have not mentioned them here does not mean that, especially for this stimulus package, it would not have been possible without your involvement. I want to thank you on behalf of government. Ladies and gentlemen, I wish to thank all the field officers who are correcting such anomalies, both from the ministries of Education and Interior and all the other special agencies that are involved in this process, in the effort to fabricate and deliver quality and standards of desks as required by the government to our children. Finally, I want to mention something small about 100% transition. Ladies and gentlemen, the policy of 100% transition, which was implemented in 2018, was only successful this year, meaning last year, 2019, through mobilization of all field officers, and both in the Ministry of Interior and the Ministry of Education, working as one government team. The operation was successful because I personally demanded that every education field officer must account for every child who had completed standard 8 and visited all the slums. And we went further, working together with the Ministry of Interior, to even get girls who had given birth 3 years previously and took them back to school. In addition, the Ministry of Interior and Coordination of National Government, headed by my brother and colleague, Dr. Fred Okengo Matiang'i, ensured that all his field officers were always available. Just like now, he has ensured that all his field officers are available because we must work as one government. It's important, before I conclude, that it is now time that as you demand things from your public officers, they must be facilitated to work to ensure that they deliver, and what they deliver must be measurable, not politically, but physically. I thank all officers within the education sector for their diligence and continue to persuade the few who are left behind to join us in delivering to the Kenyan child and parent, because actually they are the constant. And I want to state very clearly, for the avoidance of doubt, that unless otherwise directed by my appointing authority, I shall continue to perform all my duties and responsibilities with a zeal and commitment, and to ensure that all officers in the Ministry of Education perform their duties for the benefit of the Kenyan child, parents, and all education stakeholders. I thank you.
No, sasa wajibu. Hapa ilikuwa na magari na